Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and today it's time to unveil and present Lizuren's Advanced Game System Volume 3. Now, this is basically an extension or expansion to the previous two Advanced Game System decks, so if you have those, you'll know what to expect here. There are a couple of surprises, however. Before we continue, I want to inform you that these do, by the creator's own admission, use AI-generated art. To those of you for whom it matters, this may be a deal breaker, and you may not wish to support this project. I received these cards as a gift, and am doing a presentation video because I want people to know about them. But the fact that it was free for me to get will not color my opinions or views on the overall body of the work. So let's dig into the presentation and we'll talk about these cards. First of all, this is supplied from drivethrurpg.com, and of course they come with the drive-thru RPG manifest and protective plastic bands, which we will promptly discard. I will be leaving a link in the description below, as always, and I would highly recommend you check out Advanced Game System Volume 1 and 2. This is really not meant to be a standalone product. You'll see why here in a moment. All right, we have a lot of different categories of cards to go over, but first off are the instructions on the instruction card. We have new experience points cards featuring experience points granted for elven blue monsters or elves. This includes monsters that could be named something like elven archers, elven warriors, assassins, magus guards, giant wolves, ogre gray monsters or ogres, which could have names such as ogre, and transparent monsters or wraiths, which could be called something like specters or dread wraiths. As before, to balance the game master may increase the difficulty of the game by adding these 8 additional bonuses. So if one or more heroes of level 2, for example, are in play, the monsters will have an extra mind point. The applied bonuses are accumulated. For example, if there is a level 8 hero in play, the game master must apply all 8 bonuses to the game. However, you are in control. You will figure out what works best for your party and how best to balance the difficulty. New to this deck are journey cards. The journey phase takes place between the end of the quest the heroes have just played and the beginning of the next quest they have not yet played. To resolve this phase, the game master must consult the wandering monster symbols at the end of the quest just played and the symbols of the next quest to be played. The game master must draw as many journey cards as symbols appear in this way and read to the players in that same order the events that have the name of the wandering monster from each symbol mentioned above. The heroes must complete such events one at a time and in the same order. For example, in the quest just played, there are 2 skeleton wandering monster symbols, so we would draw 2 journey cards. And in the next quest, there is an orc symbol. The GM must draw 3 journey cards. So the way that I would do this, and that's where the example ends, is I would draw these cards as per the instructions. We'll flip over the first one. Now we know that the previous quest was perhaps undergone in a crypt or catacombs setting. Perhaps it was a mausoleum, and we had to fight a lot of undead, and the wandering monsters were, of course, skeletons. 2 skeletons, in fact. It was kind of a difficult quest. Well, we'll draw this card, and now we will look for skeleton, and as it so happens, there is a skeleton right here. You find a hidden secret door that saves you quite a detour. Do not draw a journey card for the next wandering monster symbol. Interesting. So actually within the journey system, there are more mechanics. There are only 5 journey cards, which is a real shame because this system has a lot of potential to grow into its own deck. And people love to make in-between quest decks and systems for their campaigns. Let's ignore that instruction for now and see what would have happened if we did draw a card for the next skeleton. The journey is getting very long and you are beginning to tire. You see a man with a chariot and he offers to give you a ride. Each hero must spend 10 gold coins. Well, that's a little bit contentious. I wonder, if one of the heroes is short the 10 coins, what happens? Do the coins come out of the pockets of the other heroes? I suppose that's something that I would say Zargon should figure out, but I don't know that Zargon should necessarily decide that for the players either. We're getting into their gold. We're getting into their livelihood here. It's at this point that I would allow the heroes now to visit any merchants or other in-between events that you've got going on before drawing the next journey's card before that quest. But now we're done with that and we'll draw the next journey card. And we know that it's supposed to be an orc, so we will find orc. You meet an Elithorn elf at a crossroads and he warns you of the danger that awaits you ahead. Do not draw a journey card for the next wandering monster symbol. So in practice, I, as the evil wizard player, would make sure that there would not be a journey card drawn after this quest was completed for the next in-between quests journey phase. That's how I would do it. I would love to know you guys' thoughts to comment below how you would use the journey section of this deck. The advanced game system comes with classes, experience points, levels, and boons that are granted to each of the different classes when they reach certain levels. We'll go through this stuff in order, but here are our experience points decks. We have the transparent monsters experience points, the elven blue monsters experience points, and the ogre gray monster experience points. So whenever you slay a monster of this type, and of course we already have undead and green skin monsters in the previous systems, you'll draw from one of these decks. So let's say we just slayed a specter, a transparent monster. We'll draw from this deck. And now we know that we have earned 65 experience points. The hero who got this card will be able to level up their hero if they have the prerequisite amount of experience points for their next level. For the specters, we can earn between 60 and 65 experience points. For the elven blue monsters, we can earn between 80 and 145 experience points. And for the ogre gray monsters, we can earn between 160 and 160 experience points. Hey, wish that there was some variation on these, I really do. 160 every card, there was no point in even having the cards take up the space in the deck. Could have just been one card. Well, I guess the heroes would have to hang on to these, so it does kind of make sense, but still, a little bit of a variation here would have been fun. We get a new investigate card. We have previous decks that have investigate cards for various pieces of furniture. This one's going to be for the statue. You approach an imposing statue of an elvish knight of Elithorn and decide to examine it. As you approach, you notice that the statue is cracked and there seems to be an object inside. To get it, you must destroy the statue with a single blow. If the statue is destroyed, draw an alchemy card at random. If the statue resists the hit, return this card to the investigate deck. All right, so you just completed your quest. You've slayed a bunch of monsters. You're ready to level up. What do? You see if you have enough experience points to level up. So this will depend here on whether you are a dwarf, a magic-born. So like the other decks in this system, you have a number of different level up cards. For the dwarf, for the magic-born race, this is going to include any characters that are like warlocks, wizards, druids, elves, and humans. Humans being barbarians and knights and monks and things like that. So between these 4 different races, you should be able to cover every single hero in your favorite 2 to 5 player tabletop dungeon crawling adventure game. But you'll go ahead and grab, let's say we're the elf. And we have 6 cards here. 3 of them cover levels 1 through 4, and the other 3 cover levels 5 through 8. And there are more than one card because you might have multiple people at your table playing these different races, or playing the same race, I should say. So I'm an elf, and I want to reach level 1. I'm currently level 0. I have whatever default skills and abilities the elf should have. I just completed the very first quest, a trial of monumental proportions. Perhaps I slayed a foul gargoyle. I finally reached 500 EXP. That would be quite the feat, however. You'd pretty much have to slay every single monster in that dungeon to get that many experience points. But 500 EXP. And so I've got my cards, my green skin and undead and chaotic enemy cards, and I trade them in. And I don't think they give you change back. So if you have more than 500 EXP, you get nothing back. You just exchange it to get the level up card. And if you don't want to do that, you'd rather have something closer to the total, you'll have to bring your character into the next level. Perhaps rescue a knight, a traitorous knight deep in the dungeon, and fight through a bunch of orcs as an alarm is sounded. And once you do that, you'll have a lot more experience points. You can kind of add them up to the 500 EXP, more exacting if you'd like. Just something you could nitpick on if you wanted. This is my level up card. Now, if I were to go and let's actually grab one of my HeroQuest cards. This is the Knight. Yes, it's the Mythic Tier Knight. No, I'm not flexing. I just happen to have it right there. Let's say I leveled up. We'll also say that the Knight is an elf. Okay, we're just going off model here. We have a buff to our mind points at level 1. Now, this is going to make a lot more sense if I did have the elf and the elf's stats right here. But basically, we're not receiving any bonus to attack or defend dice, and we're not receiving any bonus to body. We are receiving a bonus to mind points. And that is how that works. However, there is a part 2 to this. Depending on which class I chose for my character, and there are a number of classes with the AGS system, I now have access to new skills. Let's say, for example, I chose to be an Illusionist. This is the beginner spell card for the Illusionist, and this is something you will now grant the hero who has reached level 1 as an Illusionist. And this is an ability that they can now use in the very next quest. They follow the instructions on the card just as they would any spell or ability or skill. But, for example, this being the class Illusionist beginner spell, this is Shapeshifter. This spell can only be cast on yourself. Until the start of your next turn, you adapt the appearance, values, abilities, and equipment of any hero in your line of sight. For all intents and purposes, monsters will consider you as the hero of your new appearance. This requires an Illusionist hero of level 1 or higher to use this spell, so your requirements will always be listed at the bottom of the card, as before, as in previous AGS systems. And the description here, that's pretty awesome, actually. That's a really cool spell. I would say it's very overpowered, except it only lasts until the start of your next turn. So it's not overpowered. It's right where it needs to be. We've got the intermediate spell, which requires a hero of level 2. And these spells have titles like intermediate and beginner because you may be able to have more than one spell or skill in a specific tier. So there could be more than one beginner spell. You could homebrew it. It could come out in a future edition of AGS, perhaps AGS Volume 4, which I'm sure the creator is going to be working on now that we have new dungeon crawler content that's been officially released recently. They'll want to probably capitalize on the opportunity to create a homebrew system that will fit that in. But the intermediate, that goes to advanced for level 3, expert for level 4, master for level 5. Level 5 seems to be where everything caps. You can still gain levels, but it doesn't seem that you will gain any new abilities. But anyway, demonic illusion is the level 5 ability for the illusionist. This spell creates the illusion that a demonic spirit has appeared in front of you. All monsters that have line of sight with you will be terrified. They roll 1 attack die and 1 defense die as long as they can see the illusionist. This spell ends at the start of your next turn. Only 1 turn, and it took me till level 5 to get there. I think there will be some imbalance for some of you evil wizard players out there, but you can, of course, alleviate this by applying your own homebrew to the homebrew. Anyway, that's Illusionist. We have another awesome class that comes with this deck. We have the Shaman, and the Shaman comes with their advanced, master, expert, intermediate, and beginner spells, as well as the White Raven. So as soon as your Shaman reaches level 1, you'll be able to summon a White Raven. It will be controlled by you on your turn until the quest is over or it is defeated. Use the token with the hero symbol to represent the Raven on the board, and it has the following stats. 1 attack dice. They can attack diagonally. 2 defense dice, 3 body, and 1 mind. And here's your card for your White Raven. The AI art really showing through on the card here. But we know that it can move 12. This is a really fast Raven. We've got a lot of other spells for the Shaman. All of them pretty cool. And then for our Necromancer, Tavern Keeper, Bard, Berserker, Vanquisher, Scavenger, Blacksmith, Paladin, Druid, and Ranger classes from previous decks, we have the Master skills. So we have the level 5 skills for all of those guys. Now, if another AGS system comes out, perhaps it will supply us with the level 6 skills. Or perhaps everything is just done at level 5. You can continue to level up, but it's just harder and harder to do so to get those extra permanent buffs. I like this one a lot for, this is for the Scavenger class. This is the Master skill. If you're at level 5 or higher, use this skill on your turn immediately after killing an orc or goblin. You can search his body for gold, roll 2 red dice. You gain as many gold coins as the result of this roll. Do not discard this card after use. This is every single time you kill an orc or a goblin. And then for the Paladin, the Master skill is Blinding Light. This spell can be cast on a monster in your line of sight. A bright light emerges from your weapon, blinding the enemy. That monster loses its next 2 turns. Requires a Paladin hero level 5 or higher to use the spell. Interestingly enough, it does not have a mind point limitation, so you can cast that on anybody. All right, and finally, we have advanced equipment that we can check out. We've got 4 things here. The Sacred Book. So the level up system actually allows certain classes of hero or all heroes to use certain items. Advanced equipment requires heroes of a particular level to use. So the Sacred Book actually requires a hero of level 4 or higher to use it. This, in particular, can only be used by a Magicborn. But this Sacred Book of Spells allows a hero to cast 3 different spells on his turn instead of a single spell. After its use, the book disintegrates. Gone forever. The Master Key. This single-use key allows a hero to lock any door. Monsters cannot open it under any circumstances, being trapped in the room. Named or boss monsters can break the door. Requires a hero of level 3 or higher to use it. The Divine Hammer. This hammer has an unknown divine power. It grants you an attack strength of 3 combat dice. If you have the Paladin class, you treat all black shield results as skulls when facing undead monsters. You may not use a shield when using this weapon. This requires a hero of level 5 or higher to use it. And the Roots Bow. which is my favorite. This bow has been carved from the roots of the sacred tree of the Shaman elves. It grants you an attack strength of 2 combat dice, and you can attack 2 times each turn. You may shoot any monster in your line of sight, but you can't shoot an adjacent monster. You may not use a shield when using this weapon, and it may not be used by the wizard. This requires a hero level 2 or higher to use it. I probably would have said that this may not be used by Magicborn, but maybe it is just the wizard class that they're referring to, and other magical classes can use it. Very powerful. Gatling gun in fantasy times. And that is Lizuren's Advanced Game System 3. Like I said, it's not something you'll be able to use standalone. You will definitely have to order the first 2 game systems, unless you just want to use the Journey cards. In that case, you can definitely use all of the Journey system with this. And I didn't want to show every card, of course, because I really wanted you to not be spoiled and to have something to look forward to if you decide that this deck of cards is for you. And you will definitely know if it's for you or not by the end of this video. So this will go with my other homebrew things. I'll put a link in the description below to the Drive-Thru RPG site where these can be ordered. And I am aware of a strange occurrence where the first volume of the Advanced Game System is not showing for sale. So definitely reach out to the creator if this happens. It could also be the result of the deck getting an update and there needing to be an approval process for the deck to be republished on the site. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, brave heroes, onward.